I'm currently a master's student at King's College London, and with Ramadan approaching, I'm getting ready to combine fasting and studying at the same time. But also, for the past few years, I was studying and qualified with my chartered accounting exams, which also included me studying during Ramadan. So the tips I'm about to share with you are tried and tested methods that I've successfully used to stay productive during this month and not let it affect my studies. Welcome back to another video, and you might be watching this as someone who's about to start the month of Ramadan but is worried about what effect fasting may have on your concentration levels, and I've been there. I know exactly what the apprehensions are. You might also be someone who's watching this video knowing someone else that's fasting during this month and you want to know how you can help them. I commend you for that, because I remember when I used to study during Ramadan, I didn't always have the confidence to ask for help or any consideration so that I could balance my fasting and studying, because I didn't want either of them to suffer. So if you're watching this out of curiosity, a message from my younger self, thanks. And let's get started with tip number 1 of how to manage your studies during Ramadan, and that is planning. It's true what they say, when you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And this is very important to be aware of during this month. When you start fasting, from the very first day, there can be a big impact on your studies if you don't approach Ramadan with a plan. One day goes by, you've got 29 others. 5 days goes by, you've got 3 solid weeks to sort yourself out. 20 days have gone by and you don't have any energy to start now or even want to spend energy figuring out how to begin. This has happened to me enough times. So when I'm talking about planning, this is to begin before Ramadan. I'd say start it around a week before. And what you want to do is not to plan something ambitious or complicated, but rather keep it very, very simple. It's going to be up to you what you want to focus on, whether it's to complete writing up some notes, maybe it's to complete the readings of a couple of lectures. Hardest thing I always had to do was to prepare for exams. Now, I have previously done exams during Ramadan and it's not easy. If it can be rescheduled, I'd suggest doing that. But if it can't, that's okay. The way to approach revision, as I've done this several times, is again to keep it simple. And there's 3 things to follow when it comes to this topic. The first one is to understand when you're feeling tired and perhaps a little grumpy, you don't want to begin something where you don't know how long it's going to take. It's just going to put you off from even starting it. So during this month, don't tell yourself you have to cover a whole chapter or a whole topic, but rather write down the page numbers of what you want to cover. Or if you have questions to practice, write down the number of questions that you want to get done on that specific day. By clearly defining the beginning and the end of what you want to accomplish on that day, you'll know when you start how far you are from finishing. And secondly, by hitting measurable goals, you'll stay motivated to carry on for the rest of the month. So the second part of planning is knowing you will have days where you'll be low on energy, and it's on these days where more active methods of revision are required. It doesn't matter if you're going to be reading a book for an hour, your brain just won't process it if you're feeling lethargic. So rather use active methods, and what I mean by that are using flashcards like Anki, the Pomodoro technique where you can study in 20-minute bursts with a 5-minute break, or shift to a more condensed version of your textbook or notes where everything on that topic is summarized into 1 page. The point is, you want to be able to cover the main points of the topic that you're looking at, but keep it always moving. So by having regular breaks, testing yourself via quiz cards, only reading 1-page topics which contain more diagrams than say text, you're staying alert and focused and not starting to feel drowsy by staring at piles and piles of texts. And the last point when it comes to planning is to know what your study style is. It's important you take stock of when you are the most alert when it comes to dealing with your studies, and this might be different for your studies depending on either if it's a creative work or analytical work, but it's important that you are aware of when you can focus the best. For me, I'm generally quite alert in the mornings, and so the very heavy mathematical components of my work, I would focus on covering them in the morning time where I've still got food in me, I've just been hydrated, and that's where I'll be having a lot more of my energy focused. I also find myself to be quite creative in the evenings, and so this was really important in terms of understanding when I would do my essays, where I had to read pieces of text and then think more about what they mean to me and how to reflect on them, and then convert that into an essay. So that's the first step. Plan. Plan your upcoming workload by breaking it down into small chunks. Plan to utilize and prepare active methods of studying, and plan to tackle and tailor your study to when your mind works best. The second point is about communication of what fasting is and the impact it can have on you. During the month, you'll have to interact with others, either your personal tutor, your lecturer, or your classmates where you perhaps have a group project to do. They have to know that you want to study, but also that this is an important part of the year where your focus will also be shared at. Again, communication, just like planning, starts before Ramadan. See what classes you have during the month, see which ones can be moved. Maybe there's another class that you can attend which is at a better time. So for example, the ones that start at 9 a.m, could you go to one that starts at 2 p.m. instead? By emailing your teachers about this, that you may have to miss class or leave early, they'll be more accommodating to assist you, as you've shown that you respect their time as well. Having that two-way respect is important, as I've often found, because they know ahead of time about this temporary period, I can just email the teachers later and say I left early from the class, or I didn't attend it. Could you go over the parts of the lecture that I missed if I attend your office hours? This is important during the month because all of a sudden there's a lot going on inside you. Emotionally, physically, spiritually, recharging yourself is very important during this time. Listen to how your body is adapting. Don't think twice about taking a nap in the middle of the afternoon if you have to, especially in the first few days. If possible, sleep for an hour longer or better, and you might not feel like it, but I promise you, you'll always feel a lot better and more refreshed than when you started, is to go on walks. Going outside, nothing too strenuous, just a simple walk will always make you feel more alert and refreshed, and I guarantee that. There's not much else I want to say on this topic, but it's important to include in this video because I don't want anyone to think we have to behave like robots. We will get tired, and so work with your body by listening to it, because this is the only way you can extract the most productivity from yourself during Ramadan. I don't want anyone to worry how they'll balance studying and fasting, because if you're studying right now, chances are the majority of you would have already fasted for a lot longer fast than you are doing right now. And so I know these fasts will be a lot easier for you. But one thing everyone, including myself, always forget and slips back up into every Ramadan, no matter what we tell ourselves, is not fueling ourselves properly. We all know we eat too many unhealthy snacks during this month. And I'm not going to say keep it 100% healthy. It's impossible. And when you break your fast, you're supposed to reward yourself for keeping that fast. So I'm definitely not telling anyone to eat broccoli and rice for iftar every single day, but it's just about moderation. Maybe from this Ramadan, we can select 1 or 2 more healthy snacks and 1 or 2 less unhealthy snacks. Include those slow digesting, high fiber foods, both at iftar and suhoor, to give you that long lasting energy. Make sure you have your water bottle ready after you finish iftar so you can get as much hydration down you as possible. A big problem is if you're under eating, it will eventually catch up with you during the month, and your body will let you know by slowly making you feel more and more lethargic and draining the energy away from your ability to study in the month. It will be difficult to get your full required calories every single day of the month, certainly in a healthy manner. So don't be afraid to add a supplement to anything you'll be missing out on in your diet during this month to help you hit your calorie goals. The point is to fuel your body properly, and to achieve that, plan your shopping for the right food and snacks before Ramadan so that they're already in the house. If you want to see a day in my life of how I work during Ramadan and some of the accommodations I make, I'm going to link that video next to me, and the only thing left for me to say is Ramadan Kareem, and I'll see you all in the next video.